The chamber hummed with the soft vibrations of distant stars. Representatives of 1,000 species sat in the great hall of consensus, their forms varying wildly, some towering and crystalline, others gelatinous and translucent. The air shimmered with waves of pheromones, ultrasonic frequencies, and bursts of light, each species contributing to the cacophony of galactic politics. At the center of it all stood Dr. Elena Voss, the lone human voice among the multitudes. "I implore you to reconsider," Elena said, her voice clear and steady despite the oppressive weight of alien stares. "Sanctioning Earth will not stop humanity. It will only accelerate the problem." A ripple of murmurs passed through the hall, translated by neural implants into comprehensible language for each species. Elena's reflection shimmered on the polished floor, her dark hair framing her sharp features. She clutched the edges of the podium as if bracing for the weight of the inevitable reply. Grand Arbiter Zelenth, a being of silken filaments suspended in a gravitic field, floated forward. Its voice resonated directly in the minds of the assembly, rich and condescending. "Dr. Voss, your species has proven itself incapable of restraint. Your kind consumes resources at an alarming rate, destabilizing ecosystems, violating the principles of harmony that have sustained this galaxy for millennia. Humanity's ambition is a fire. Contain it, or it will burn you." Elena took a breath, steadying herself. "Ambition is a fire, yes. But fire can illuminate. It can forge. Without it, you sit in the dark." A laugh erupted from the delegation of the Threxians, their scaled bodies coiling in derision. Their leader, a hulking creature with bioluminescent markings, hissed, "Your arrogance knows no bounds, human. You believe your tiny species, a mere fledgling on the galactic stage, can lecture us on survival? We have thrived for eons." Elena's hand tightened into a fist. "And how did you survive your early years, Threxian? Was it through stagnation? Or did you push boundaries, innovate, take risks? That's what humanity does. Yes, we stumble, but we also learn. We evolve." The murmurs grew louder, fracturing into heated exchanges. A species resembling sentient coral emitted a burst of ultrasonic clicks that filled the hall like breaking glass. The Council's translation system rendered the message. "Your evolution is reckless. You threaten not just your system but the stability of neighboring sectors." "Threaten?" Elena's voice sharpened, cutting through the noise. "Let me tell you what threatens this galaxy: complacency. The Council's policies of containment may have worked for millennia, but you've grown blind to the necessity of adaptation. You call us reckless, but our ingenuity has achieved in centuries what took others millennia. Deny us the resources we need, and we will find alternatives. And that will be far more dangerous than letting us grow under guidance." The chamber fell silent, tension thick in the air. Arbiter Zelenth's filaments quivered, its tone laced with disdain. "Your words are predictable, Dr. Voss. Humanity has always cloaked its destructiveness in the guise of progress. We reject your plea. Effective immediately, Earth is hereby isolated. All interstellar trade, communication, and travel are suspended. Let us see if your fire burns so brightly when it is starved of fuel." Elena's heart sank, but she refused to show it. "You misunderstand us, Arbiter. Humans don't stop. Cut us off, and we'll adapt. We'll find a way." The Arbiter's filaments shifted, radiating an air of dismissal. "That, Dr. Voss, is precisely what we fear." Elena stormed through the corridors of the orbital station, her jaw clenched. The artificial gravity made her movements feel heavier than usual, or perhaps it was the crushing weight of the Council's decision. Her assistant, Amir, a young engineer with bright eyes and perpetually messy hair, hurried to keep up. "They're fools," Amir said, frustration thick in his voice. "How can they not see the risk? If they push us into a corner—" "They don't care," Elena interrupted, her tone weary. "To them, we're an anomaly. A dangerous outlier. They think they can control us by limiting our options, but all they're doing is forcing us to innovate faster. And if we make mistakes—" She stopped, staring out a viewport at the blue marble of Earth below. "Those mistakes could be catastrophic." Amir hesitated. Do you think they're right? That we're dangerous? Elena turned to him, her expression hard. Dangerous? Yes. But so is every species that's ever evolved past their homeworld. Danger isn't the issue. It's what you do with it. Humanity has the potential to achieve incredible things, but we need guidance, collaboration, not isolation. Her voice softened, and she placed a hand on Amir's shoulder. We can't let them win by proving them right. We need to be smarter, better. Back on Earth, the news of the sanctions hit like a shockwave. Protests erupted across continents, some blaming the Council, others blaming their own leaders for failing to secure humanity's place in the stars. Elena stood before a gathering of the world's brightest minds, a mix of scientists, engineers, and policymakers. The tension in the room was palpable. This is a crossroads, Elena began, her voice steady. The Council thinks they've defeated us. They believe we'll collapse under the weight of these sanctions. But they underestimate what we can do when pushed. A scientist in the back raised his hand. We've already tapped most of Earth's resources. The Council's ban on trade will cripple us within a decade. Elena nodded. Then we stop looking down and start looking up. There are untapped resources in our own solar system, asteroids rich in rare minerals, the energy of the sun waiting to be harnessed. We've been content to rely on the Council's systems for too long. Now we innovate. We adapt. And we do it better than anyone else. Another voice spoke up, skeptical. And if they intervene? If they see us as too much of a threat? Elena's gaze hardened. Then we show them that humanity doesn't just survive, we thrive. They've lit a fire under us. Now we make it burn brighter than they ever imagined. The room erupted in determination, a collective resolve spreading like wildfire. Elena felt a flicker of hope amidst the chaos. The Council had made their move, but the game was far from over. Humanity had been underestimated before. It would not be the last time. As she walked out of the meeting, her communicator buzzed. A message from an old colleague, encrypted urgent. She opened it, and her heart skipped a beat. We've found something, the message read. A way to bypass the sanctions. But it's risky. You'll want to see this. Elena smiled grimly. Of course we found a way, she muttered to herself. We always do. You're telling me this thing works? Elena Voss leaned over the holographic projection, her brows furrowed in disbelief. The rotating schematic of an asteroid harvester glowed faintly in the dimly lit room. Around her, a cluster of engineers and scientists stood stiffly, their faces lined with exhaustion. Amir, her assistant, shifted on his feet. It's not perfect, Amir admitted, pushing his glasses up his nose. But it's functional. With enough funding and manpower, we can launch within 6 months. The harvester can strip an asteroid the size of Manhattan in days and refine the minerals on site. Elena straightened, her arms crossed. The Council will be watching. The moment they see us scaling operations like this, they'll see it as a threat. They already see us as a threat. Another voice interjected. Dr. Kwan, a no-nonsense materials scientist, gestured toward the projection. If they're going to call us dangerous no matter what, we might as well act the part. We need those resources, Elena. Without them, we're not just stagnant, we're dead. Elena closed her eyes briefly, weighing the gravity of their situation. The Council's sanctions had already cut Earth's supply chains to the bone. Power shortages, food rationing, and collapsing infrastructure were spreading panic across the globe. Yet humanity had always thrived under pressure. That fire, both a curse and a blessing, was burning brighter than ever. Fine, she said finally. Greenlight the project. But keep it quiet. The moment we draw too much attention, we lose our advantage. And make sure the design has fail-safes. The last thing we need is a rogue experiment turning into a disaster. Amir hesitated, then nodded. I'll oversee the prototypes myself. 6 months later, the first harvester touched down on the surface of asteroid 374 XC, an iron-rich rock orbiting just beyond Mars. On Earth, the mood had shifted. News of the project leaked, and for the first time since the sanctions, people saw a glimmer of hope. Elena watched the live feed of the harvester from her office, her fingers drumming on the desk. The machine moved with eerie precision, its mechanical arms slicing through the asteroid's surface like butter. "They said we couldn't survive without them," Amir said, leaning on the doorframe. "Looks like we're proving them wrong." "Don't celebrate yet," Elena replied, her eyes glued to the screen. "One victory doesn't win the war. The Council is still out there, watching." Amir opened his mouth to respond, but the sharp trill of an incoming transmission cut him off. Elena frowned and swiped at the console, pulling up the message. The hologram of a stern-looking arbiter Zelenth materialized in the air, its filaments shifting erratically. "Dr. Voss." Zelenth's voice rang in her mind, cold and deliberate. "Your unauthorized mining operations have not gone unnoticed. You were warned." Elena forced herself to remain calm. "We're ensuring the survival of our species, Arbiter. Surely even the Council can understand the right to self-preservation." "The right to self-preservation does not justify recklessness," Zelenth replied. "Your actions are destabilizing regional gravitational fields. You endanger neighboring systems." "That's a lie," Elena shot back. "We've accounted for every variable. The only danger here is your refusal to let us grow." Zelenth's filaments vibrated with barely concealed irritation. "Humanity's arrogance will be its undoing. You have 20 standard rotations to cease operations, or the Council will intervene." The hologram blinked out, leaving the room in a tense silence. Amir spoke first. "What do we do?" "We keep going," Elena said firmly. "We've come too far to stop now." The Council's deadline came and went, and humanity's operations expanded exponentially. New harvesters deployed to asteroids and moons across the solar system, extracting precious materials at a pace the Council could no longer ignore. Earth's power grid stabilized, and food production soared with the influx of resources. For the first time in years, humanity was not only surviving but thriving. But the Council responded. A fleet of automated drones appeared on the outskirts of the solar system, their sleek designs unmistakably alien. They positioned themselves between humanity's harvesters and the resources they sought, an unspoken warning. Elena watched the live feed from her command center, the weight of the moment pressing down on her like a lead blanket. "They've drawn a line," Amir said, his voice tight. "If we cross it, they won't fire," Elena interrupted. "Not yet. They're testing us, seeing how far we'll go." Dr. Kwan entered the room, holding a tablet covered in data. "The drones are broadcasting a message. It's encrypted, but we think it's a warning for nearby systems. They're rallying support." Elena slammed her fist on the table. "Damn it! We don't have time for this. If we back down now, everything we've worked for will be for nothing." Amir hesitated. "Then what's the plan?" She stared at the screen, her mind racing. "We send a message back." The Council's chamber buzzed with activity as Elena's message played over the intergalactic network. Her holographic image stood defiantly in the center of the hall, her words cutting through the assembly like a blade. "You can blockade us, threaten us, even destroy us, but humanity will not stop. We have always thrived in the face of adversity. Every obstacle you place in our path only fuels our determination. If you wish to see the extent of what we can accomplish under pressure, then by all means, continue your sanctions. But know this, we are not just surviving. We are evolving. And if you force us into a corner, the consequences will be on your heads, not ours." The assembly erupted into chaos. Some delegations called for immediate action, others urged caution. Zelenth watched in silence, its filaments twitching as it calculated its next move. Back on Earth, Elena's speech had a galvanizing effect. The people rallied behind her, their determination reaching a fever pitch. New technologies emerged seemingly overnight: advanced propulsion systems, self-sustaining habitats, even rudimentary wormhole generators. Humanity was no longer reacting to the Council's sanctions, they were innovating beyond them. But the Council was not idle. Reports came in of sabotage, harvesters destroyed in sudden explosions, orbital stations hacked and rendered inoperable. The attacks were anonymous, but the message was clear. The Council would not tolerate humanity's defiance. Elena stood in the command center, staring at the reports piling up on her screen. Amir approached cautiously. They're escalating. We've lost 3 harvesters this week alone. I know, Elena said quietly. Then what do we do? She turned to him, her eyes fierce. We adapt. Like we always do. And we show them that humanity doesn't just survive. We thrive. The first test of the wormhole generator was a success. In a hidden facility deep beneath the surface of Mars, the device hummed with energy, creating a shimmering portal that defied the laws of physics. Elena watched from the control room, her chest tight with anticipation. Do you think they'll stop us? Amir asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Elena shook her head. They can try. But humanity's greatest strength isn't just our resilience. It's our ability to dream bigger than anyone ever thought possible. They wanted to contain us, but all they've done is ignite a fire they can't control. As the wormhole stabilized, a new chapter for humanity began. And Elena knew, deep down, that this was only the beginning. Elena Voss stood before the crowd, her voice ringing through the subterranean amphitheater. We have run out of time. The Council has escalated their sabotage, and the black hole destabilization is accelerating. If we don't act now, the galaxy will collapse. We face a choice: do nothing and perish, or attempt the impossible. Murmurs rippled through the gathered scientists, engineers, and political leaders. Amir, standing beside Elena, glanced nervously at the schematics projected in the air above her, a lattice of neural networks interwoven with a massive supercomputer. It was humanity's last hope, but also its most audacious plan. Elena gestured toward the hologram. This is Project Genesis. If successful, it will stabilize the black hole by rewriting the gravitational constants that govern its event horizon. The energy it releases will fuel a new era of sustainable galactic physics, an unlimited resource for all species, not just humanity. A voice cut through the crowd. Dr. Kwan, ever the pragmatist, crossed her arms. And the cost? Elena's shoulders tensed, but her voice remained steady. The system requires more than computational power. It needs human minds, our adaptability, creativity, and intuition. Billions of us will merge into the network to guide its processes. We will become the stabilizing force. A stunned silence fell over the room. Someone near the back shouted, You're asking us to give up our individuality? To erase what makes us human? No, Elena replied firmly. I'm asking us to evolve. The Council believes humanity is dangerous because of our ambition, our drive. But what they don't understand is our capacity for unity, for sacrifice. This is not the end of humanity. It's our transformation into something greater. Dr. Kwan shook her head. And if it fails? What happens to us then? Elena's gaze swept the room, landing on every face. If we fail, we die. All of us. But if we succeed, we save the galaxy. We become its guardians, its architects. We leave a legacy that will endure beyond stars. Amir stepped forward, his voice soft but steady. We've always been told that humanity's greatest flaw is that we never stop. What if that's not a flaw? What if it's our gift? The Council wanted to contain us, to make us small. But maybe this is how we show them what we're truly capable of. The murmurs grew louder, a mix of fear and determination. Finally, an older man with a weathered face raised his hand. If I do this, I won't be myself anymore, will I? Elena met his eyes. No. You'll be part of something larger. But your essence, your creativity, your humanity, it will live on in the network. And it will shape the future. The man nodded slowly. Then I'm in. Others began to step forward, hesitant at first, then with growing confidence. Elena felt a swell of pride and sorrow as she watched them. These were her people, resilient, brave, unstoppable. Days later, the network was ready. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, the neural lattice hummed with energy, its fibers glowing faintly as the first volunteers connected their minds to the system. Elena stood in the control room, her heart pounding as she watched the progress bar inch forward. Amir leaned against the console, his face pale. "Do you think we're doing the right thing?" Elena didn't look away from the screen. "I don't think we have a choice. This isn't about right or wrong. It's about survival. But it's more than that, isn't it?" Amir's voice was quiet. "You're asking people to become something new. What if they're not ready?" Elena turned to face him. "Humanity has never been ready for anything. We weren't ready to harness fire, to leave our homeworld, to face the Council. But we did it anyway. Because that's who we are." Amir studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Then I'll see you on the other side." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "Thank you, Amir. For everything." The countdown began. Across Earth and its colonies, billions of people connected to the network, their consciousnesses merging into the lattice. Elena was among the last to join, her role as the system's architect requiring her to oversee the transition. As the timer ticked down, she stood before the central console, her hand hovering over the activation switch. "Elena!" Amir's voice crackled over the intercom. "It's time." She took a deep breath, her thoughts racing. The faces of her colleagues, her friends, her family flashed through her mind. This was it, the culmination of everything humanity had ever fought for. She pressed the switch. The sensation was indescribable. Elena's mind expanded, dissolving into the lattice as it connected with billions of others. She felt their thoughts, their emotions, their memories blending with her own. It was overwhelming, yet strangely peaceful, a symphony of humanity's collective essence. The network surged to life, its energy rippling through space. At the center of the galaxy, the black hole's event horizon began to stabilize, its chaotic forces bending to the will of the neural lattice. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy breathed. Within the network, Elena could feel the Council's presence, watching, waiting, fearing. But she also felt something else, hope. The black hole's stabilization created a cascade of energy that radiated outward, revitalizing dying stars and creating new opportunities for life. The lattice had not just saved the galaxy, it had transformed it. On the outskirts of the Milky Way, the Council convened to discuss the events unfolding before them. Arbiter Zelenth floated at the center of the chamber, its filaments trembling with unease. "They have done it," Zelenth said, its voice resonating in the minds of the assembly. "Humanity has achieved what we believed impossible. They have become something else." A crystalline being clicked in response. "And what does this mean for the Council? For the galaxy? It means we were wrong," Zelenth admitted, its tone heavy with regret. "We sought to contain them, to limit their potential. But humanity cannot be contained. They are not a threat, they are a force of creation. A new order." As the Council deliberated, the network's influence spread. Humanity's collective consciousness became a guiding presence, offering knowledge and assistance to civilizations in need. The Council, once the galaxy's supreme authority, found itself humbled. Within the lattice, Elena felt a sense of completion. Humanity had not just survived, they had transcended. And in doing so, they had fulfilled their potential, not as conquerors, but as creators, protectors, and stewards of the galaxy. Amir's voice echoed in her mind, warm and familiar. "So, what now?" Elena smiled, her essence glowing within the lattice. "Now we build a future. Together." The black hole stabilized, its voracious pull now a calm, swirling dance of energy. For the first time, the galaxy's core became a source of light, not destruction. Across thousands of systems, stars flickered to life as the gravitational anomalies ceased. Civilization after civilization, alien and human alike, witnessed the impossible and knew only one name responsible: humanity. Within the lattice, Elena's consciousness hummed with a new sense of existence. She wasn't Elena anymore, not entirely. Her individuality blended seamlessly into the collective, but her presence, her determination, burned as fiercely as ever. Billions of voices echoed in perfect harmony, yet her thoughts remained distinct. It was like standing in a sea where every drop was uniquely its own but inseparably part of the whole. Report. Elena sent the thought across the network, and it reached every corner of the galaxy in a fraction of a second. Responses flowed back instantly, data streams, visualizations, and flashes of emotion woven into a seamless narrative. The core is stabilized, came Amir's familiar voice, threaded with awe and relief. Though his physical form no longer existed, his tone carried all the warmth it always had. Energy surges are being distributed evenly across the spiral arms. Systems on the brink of collapse are thriving. They're calling it a miracle. It's not a miracle, Elena replied, a touch of pride glimmering in her message. It's us. On the edge of the Milky Way, the Galactic Council sat in stunned silence. For the first time in millennia, their ancient halls reverberated with uncertainty. Arbiter Zelent's filaments quivered as it addressed the assembly. Humanity has transcended. It began, each word heavy with resignation and awe. They have stabilized the black hole and altered the gravitational constants of the galaxy itself. They have succeeded where we failed. A crystalline delegate pulsed with sharp, resonant clicks. And now they are, what? A threat? A god? Neither, Zelent replied. They are something beyond our comprehension, a collective intelligence driven by creativity, ambition, and unity. They are what we feared. And yet, the Arbiter paused, its filaments dimming. They saved us. A gelatinous being quivered, sending ripples of luminescent light through the chamber. Do we seek to destroy them now, before they become unstoppable? Or do we accept their new role? Before Zelent could answer, the air shimmered with a wave of energy. A holographic form materialized in the center of the chamber, glowing faintly with golden light. It wasn't a single human but an amalgamation of faces, shifting seamlessly from one expression to another. It was the collective. We mean you no harm. The voice resonated, impossibly calm yet undeniably powerful. We have stabilized the galaxy for all species, not just humanity. We exist to create, to protect, to guide. But we will not be your tools, nor your enemies. The council was silent, their unease palpable. Finally, Zelent spoke. And what do you call yourselves now? Surely you are no longer simply human. The hologram flickered, shifting to a form that resembled Elena's face for a brief moment. We are humanity, it said. But we are also something more. You may call us the Nexus. Back in the lattice, Elena felt the ripple of the council's response, cautious acceptance tempered by lingering fear. It was as much as they could hope for. The Nexus now extended its influence beyond stabilizing the black hole, sharing knowledge freely with civilizations willing to embrace it. Technology once thought impossible became reality: cures for diseases, renewable energy systems, and advancements that elevated even the smallest colonies. Yet not all species welcomed the Nexus. On the outskirts of the galaxy, rogue factions resisted, fearing loss of autonomy. Their messages were filled with anger and distrust. You've become what the Council feared. You will control everything, consume everything. How long before you turn your power against us? Elena addressed the Nexus. We need to show them we're not their overlords. They must choose to work with us, not feel compelled. A new voice, distant yet familiar, spoke from the lattice, a mathematician from Earth, now part of the whole. But what if they never accept us? What if we're forced to intervene to prevent their destruction? Elena's presence flared within the collective, her conviction unshaken. Then we fail. The point of what we've done isn't domination, it's collaboration. If we act like tyrants, we prove the Council was right to fear us. The Nexus reached consensus. Efforts to build trust with rogue factions began immediately, with emissaries formed from the collective to engage with them directly. These emissaries took on individual forms, distilling pieces of the Nexus into relatable, humanoid figures that could communicate on equal footing. In one such meeting, an emissary resembling a mare sat across from the leader of a rogue faction, a towering insectoid being named Kelex. The room crackled with tension as Kelex's mandibles clicked aggressively. You say you're here to help, yet your existence itself is a threat. What stops you from erasing us the moment we disagree? The Emir emissary smiled faintly, his tone measured. What stops us is that we don't want to rule. Humanity was never about controlling others, it was about surviving, growing, creating. That hasn't changed. We're offering tools, knowledge, and partnerships. If you choose to reject them, that is your right. And if we attack? Kelex's eyes narrowed. If we seek to destroy you? The emissary leaned forward, his expression unflinching. You can try. But know this, we don't fight to conquer. We fight to protect. If you threaten what we've built, we will defend it. Kelex studied the emissary for a long moment before relaxing slightly. Perhaps your kind truly has changed. Or perhaps you've simply become better at hiding your ambition. Time will tell. Years passed, and the Nexus flourished. The galaxy entered an unprecedented era of prosperity, with civilizations working together in ways that had once seemed impossible. The Council, though diminished in power, acknowledged the Nexus as an equal partner, even going so far as to adopt some of its principles. Elena's essence remained a guiding force within the Nexus, her determination shaping its every action. But as time went on, she began to feel a strange pull, a yearning for something she couldn't quite define. It was Emir who finally addressed it. You miss being human, he said, his voice carrying an undercurrent of understanding. I am human, Elena replied. We all are. You know what I mean. You miss the small things. A single voice, a single thought. Coffee. Laughter. Elena's presence dimmed for a moment, a sigh without sound. Sometimes, yes. But this is what we chose. What I chose. Amir's voice softened. Even if you can't go back, it's okay to remember. And so she did. Within the vast expanse of the Nexus, Elena carved out a space for memory, a place where the echoes of old Earth could live on. Laughter, coffee, the feel of sunlight on skin. These fragments became a part of the Nexus, a reminder of what they had been and what they could still become. As the galaxy thrived, so did the Nexus, a testament to humanity's unyielding spirit. They had transcended their limitations, not by abandoning their nature, but by embracing its highest potential. They had proven that even in the face of extinction, humanity would never stop, not until they had reshaped the stars themselves.